One of the things that chaplains do best is to identify what makes a patient a person and identifying what's most important to them. And it's so important for everyone on the team to discover and respect each patient's individual worldview. And the patient is better able to participate in their plan of care when they know that their desires and preferences are going to be respected and that they will be treated with dignity. So what's the matter with you? Patients would be perhaps shocked if no one asked them what was wrong. And what's wrong physically and medically speaking is very important. We need to know what their chief complaint is, what brought them to us, what is the most important thing to them in terms of their physical health and their well-being. We may have patients with a problem list. If they've been chronically ill for many years, they may indeed have a variety of different aspects of their care that are on this list. A variety of different treatments that need to be managed and limitations that affect their daily life. The plan of care is important and really integrates all of those different aspects. The severity of their symptoms is important to know because we really want to be able to focus in on the things that are the most troublesome for them. A patient with crushing chest pain, for instance, is a very emergent situation. Someone whose pain is at about a 1 or a 2, and they can tolerate about a 2 to a 3, they may not really be the primary, that's not going to be the primary problem that we focus on. But it's still important to understand where they stand for the different symptoms they may be experiencing. Level of impairment is also important to understand. In a simplistic example would be that if I'm right-handed and I've broken my left arm, I'm not nearly as impaired as if I had broken my right arm. And on the other hand, if I'm right-handed and I've broken my right arm, my impairment is actually even more severe if I don't have family members who can help take care of me. So very important to understand before the patient is discharged from the hospital, are there going to be folks that are available to help them with their activities of daily living? So we also want to know what matters to you. And I think that this is a super important question that I love to ask my patients. I do like to ask them what matters to them and to help guide them through a discussion that talks about their personal preferences, their medical priorities, their cultural and religious considerations, any family concerns that they might have, and identity and their role in life. The gentleman who's used to everything working in his favor, he's a captain of industry, he is used to telling people to, how high to jump, might find himself in a situation where he's debilitated and he's the one who needs the direct care, and he needs to be able to be compliant or do what people ask him to do in order to be successful with his treatment. And yet that's going to be a complication for the family dynamics. And it's important for us to understand that and to look for ways that we can help them adjust to that difference and that change in their life, and for them to be able to come together as a family and reconnect in a different way. Also, in taking a look at dignity, to be sure that we're treating our patients with respect and that other members of the staff are as well. You may have heard of the kind of grandpa-grandma talk where Gramps this and Pops that, and you pat people on the head and, oh, isn't she so cute and sweet? Studies have actually shown that patients with Alzheimer's who are talked to that way don't do as well. They become more agitated and uncooperative when they're talked to as though they were adults, which they are. Then they are certainly, they're more satisfied, more settled in themselves. So it's really important for us to be able to do that. These are our elders and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And I'd also like to share a case study. This is something that really happened, and I think it was such a great example that asking a patient what matters to you may not be possible for a patient who's unresponsive or has limited communication or understanding. we can still talk with their family and friends about what's going on with them. There was a woman at a nursing facility that our hospice visited who was disruptive. She was humming and waving her arms. She seemed agitated a lot. She was annoying the staff and the other residents, frankly. The nursing staff at the facility wanted to increase her anti-anxiety and medication, but our staff was reluctant to do so. They really didn't want her to be chemically restrained. They wanted her to be able to be more able to interact with her caregivers. So the chaplain asked the question that really no one else had thought of, and asked the family, what did your mother do for a living? What were her hobbies? And the family's answer surprised and kind of shocked everyone. The mother had been an opera singer. So when we take, now this is actually a picture of the great diva Maria Callas, and she was someone who was a famous opera singer in her day, and we found a CD of her singing the great arias and played that for the patient. Her eyes just lit up. She hummed along. She waved her arms. It had been performance. Often we'll hear the term said that our hearing is the last to go when we are dying or losing our consciousness or responsiveness. And I don't know if that's actually true, but I like to believe that it is, because I think it's important to talk to our patients, to play music for them, to be able to help them reconnect with things that were important with them. And music is something that brings out beautiful memories for patients and their families. She had been that professional opera singer. Everything changed. She didn't need medication. She needed music. The continuous care staff when the patient was actively dying and the family couldn't be there, so we were able to provide a continuous care for her. And they were playing her favorite opera music, and she heard that music until she died. I love this quote by Viktor Frankl: "Man is not destroyed by suffering. He's destroyed by suffering without meaning." So to avoid or not find those connections for our patients can really be a cause for their suffering, and we can help provide a connection to what's important to them and what matters to them. Thomas Welk was a hospice chaplain who wrote a paper on a model for suffering to explain the basics of hospice care, drawing from Dame Cicely Saunders, the founder of the modern hospice movement, and her concept of a holistic way of viewing pain. And in his model, you can see where if there's conflict in our social lives, if there's fear within our emotional being, despair in our spirituality, or physical pain, those things lead to suffering. And one of the things that we can always do is look for ways to ease the burden of suffering for our patients.